It is WagerTalk Today, and this is Thursday, May the 4th. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez, and that's my co-host, Teddy Covers. And we've got a loaded show, as always. Teddy, who do we have on this beautiful Thursday?
I'm trying to in fact, why don't you tell us, Steve? Because I'm still scrolling down trying to figure out the stuff that didn't get put in this morning. Who's on the show today, Mr. Merrill?
Well,
And
I
what order and
apologize.
what
I usually
games
give
are
you a
they
nice
talking about?
itinerary
Go.
here, but didn't get it updated today because I was offline. But yeah, we do have Rob Veno off the top, Tokyo Brandon after that, and then Kyle Anthony. So we're covering a lot of different sports. Rob even sneaking in a USFL game along with some NBA playoffs because Tokyo Brandon, the baseball expert, and then Fight Night, right, with Kyle Anthony, our MMA expert. So a lot of good stuff. And Teddy's got a what bettors learn in between with some college baseball talk. So Teddy, we talked, I think, 4 different sports yesterday on Wednesday. We've got at least 4 or 5 different sports today on Thursday to keep you on your toes.
We sure do. We'll talk Orioles Royals. We'll talk some Rockies Brewers. We'll talk main event in the UFC, Sterling Cejudo, as well as the undercard Jourdain and Gracie. And of course, you talked about the USFL, Birmingham versus Pittsburgh, and an NBA team total for tonight. So let's get right into it. No question, a loaded Thursday edition.
We'll start right off with Rob Veno. And Rob, we do have a big NBA game tonight, obviously Warriors-Lakers, but we're going to save that for a second because the most important thing to talk about is the USFL. Going back in our hot tub time machine to the 1980s, talking some USFL here with Rob Veno. Rob, lead it off. I have not been following the league, but I am curious your take on some of these teams. How's it been for you? I believe the Birmingham-Pittsburgh game is being played in Canton, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Stephen, and why not show some wager talk diversity with all these sports that we cover around here amongst the handicappers at this website? And the USFL has been good to me, Steve. 3-1 so far. They're in their 4th week now. That combined with the XFL totals have hit about 73% this year. I think 16-6 is the exact number there. So the 2 extra football leagues combined here in the spring have produced pretty good profits for me so far this season. The Birmingham-Pittsburgh game, let's get into it real quick. And the reason why they play at Canton, Ohio, Steve, is there's 4 designated home fields in this league. Last year, there was only 1, right? They played every game in Birmingham. But this year, they have 4 different stadiums. And for Pittsburgh and New Jersey, their designated home field is the Canton, Ohio field that they play the Hall of Fame game on in the NFL each and every year. So we'll start there. I'm going to play this one under 43.5. It's lost a little bit off of that number. I think it opened at 45. They've chipped away at it, brought it down to 43.5. Remember now that it doesn't take a heck of a lot to move numbers in the USFL and the XFL. But to me, it's a big bounce back game for the Birmingham Stallions defense, which was uncharacteristically torched last week by New Orleans. Birmingham allowed 7 touchdowns on 11 New Orleans possessions. Pretty tough to do, but they managed to do it. They gave up 200 on the ground. They gave up 283 through the air, 483 total yards, and 7.8 per play. And this is from a defense that pretty much remains intact from last year's championship team and is regarded as one of the 2-3 best in the league. So they got hurt last week. Maybe their britches got a little bit too big for them. Skip Holtz's squad, he is the head coach of the Birmingham Stallions, had been undefeated up until that point last week when they lost. That performance pushed them down to 7th overall in USFL team defense rankings. And at numbers skewed, obviously, not only did they play poorly last week, but they faced 2 of the top 3 offenses in the league so far. They also faced the New Jersey Generals week 1. But here, boy, if there's a perfect elixir for a bad defensive performance, it's the Pittsburgh Maulers offense. How about these numbers, Stephen? Football-wise, I don't care what league you're in, they're pathetic. 174.7 total yards per game. They don't average 100 yards rushing or passing. 96.3 on the ground, 78.3 through the air in modern-day football. It's a team that was the worst offense in the league last year. It's a team that underwent a lot of overhaul, coaching-wise, personnel-wise. So they haven't gotten it together offensively. And I'll give you a few more here that probably make your head spin a little bit. This Pittsburgh team has had 30 offensive possessions this year. 30 times they've touched the ball. They scored 8 times on 30 possessions. 7 of those were field goals, and the other was an 82-yard punt return for a touchdown. So that leaves you with exactly 0 offensive touchdowns scored by Pittsburgh in 30 drives this year. So that's horrible. 0 for 30 scoring touchdowns. But defensively, they're different. Defensively, they're really good. They've been rock solid all season long, despite facing 3 of the best offenses in the league so far. The New Orleans team that absolutely torched Birmingham last week, the Pittsburgh played them and held them to just 1 touchdown, only 22 points, to show you how good this defense has been despite being on the field so much. So I'm going to say that Pittsburgh is good enough to contain the Birmingham offense, and Birmingham's defense comes back and does what everybody does and keeps Pittsburgh quiet. 43.5 looked a little bit too high to me. I say we play this one under 43.5.
So Pittsburgh, again, this is not a league that I follow. However, you can look at the stats real easy. And Pittsburgh has been the lowest scoring team in the league, and their defense has been rock solid all year. Is this a team we're just going to play under until proven otherwise? Have they cashed all 3 under so far? And when you find a team like this in a lesser league that's just cashing 1 under after the next, just ride it until it dies.
Yeah, and in this particular case, yes, Teddy. I mean, your first reaction whenever Pittsburgh goes up on the board is, look at the under, make sure the odds makers have not pushed it too low to where, you might have to consider not playing it. But in this case, at 43.5, it just seems much too high to me. Pittsburgh hasn't played a game over 43.5 this season. I don't know that they will. I shouldn't say that, because second half of the year, things could change for them. But right now, it's a team still working out the processes of a new playbook, a new coach, a new quarterback, lots of new faces on this team. And they were not good to begin with last year. So I'm going to say Birmingham, with a real good defense, bounces back here and keeps this one under the total. And to the question about playing Pittsburgh under, I think that's the way you have to look each and every week, and then check the number and go from there.
Rob Veno, WagerTalk.com. We have a couple minutes left with Rob here, so I want to get to the NBA playoffs. One standalone game tonight, game 2 between the Lakers and Warriors. Rob, how are you approaching this one?
Let's try Golden State team total over 116.5, Steve. And I'm not, in saying that, I'm not going to argue anybody off of the Lakers team total over either. We won't get into that, but let's start with Golden State, because this is the way I preferred to go here. I think we saw the matchup dictates that Golden State's going to have to continue playing high tempo. They're going to have to continue having open floor, open court style game in order to beat Los Angeles. Just not going to beat them in a half court, not going to beat them defensively. That's not the way it's going to work for GSW. And I think they showed that with their philosophy in game 1. They put the ball up. They had 106 field goal attempts. That's a massive number in a game. 106 field goal attempts. 53 of those were threes. I don't know. I don't know that they'll match 106 guys, but I think that's the way they'll play it again. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they get to 100 here. They had 64 first half points in the game the other night. They were well on their way to going over 116.5, but they only got to 48 the entire second half. And the question you have to ask yourself is, A, with the 48 points, a product of LA making halftime adjustments and playing really good defense, or were they, B, and Golden State only having 1 day off of that excruciating 7-game Sacramento Kings series, and then just fatigue setting in the second half? If you look at the numbers, the jump shooting legs might have gone out from under them in the second half. They were 13 of 30, 43.3% from 3 in the first half. And then in the second half, they followed it up by only going 8 of 23, 34.8. So my take, or my look at it, is that Golden State just got tired and stopped making 3-pointers. Day of rest, chance to get it back together again. I think that they do make more shots here. I also have to note that they only got to the free throw line 6 times in that game the other night. They have to be more aggressive and get to the free throw line more than 6 times. The rotation players that usually play good at home didn't play well at home the other night. Players 7 through 10 played 38 minutes in that game. Only gave them 8 points. I think they picked that up. I think 116.5 is more than doable, especially considering that they got to 112 the other day. So give me Golden State team total over 116.5.
So it was a 29-6 free throw advantage for the Lakers in game 1, which is about as big as you're going to see. It's the quote from Steve Kerr after the game, talking about how the Lakers are trying to pound the ball in the paint and the Warriors are shooting perimeter jump shots. Quote, they're going to shoot more free throws than we are. I think they were number one in the league, and we were the last or next to last. So not a surprise. That's a huge disparity. And he said, we need to bring it down. Easier said than done. How do the Warriors do that? I mean, it looks to me really clear like the Lakers are going to be able to pound the ball in the paint again and again. They're going to get the free throw attempts, and the Warriors aren't. And it's hard to get, no stat correlates more with totals than free throw attempts. When you get the free throws and the points being scored with the shot clock off, it adds up. Warriors, can they do that tonight? And if so, how?
Well, I don't think they're going to stop Los Angeles, Teddy. I think that is set in stone that, 29 free throws for the Lakers. They're going to be able to get them when they want. The way you close the gap is you get more than six. Six, honestly. You got to get more than 6 free throw attempts. They're more than capable of driving to the rim. We've seen Steph Curry do it all the time. We see Jordan Poole do it. Draymond certainly could get to the line. So they have to get, the way they close the gap is to get more than 6. If they get to around 15, which I think is normal for them, more their average, around 15, then they're a pretty good free throw shooting team. Andrew Wiggins especially should be able to get there. So I think a little more aggressiveness, that's the way you close that gap as far as trying to win a game is concerned. But let's face it, they got to 112 points with only 6 free throw attempts. It's got to be a little bit better tonight. They'll continue to rain threes. They didn't shoot a great percentage from 3, only 39%. So it's not like they shot lights out and still got to 112. They could probably do a little better here. I'm going to try their team total over 116.5.
Rob Veno, WagerTalk.com, and Rob loves it when I do math for him, so I'm going to make this one simple. It's half price Thursday. It's 50% discount, Rob. That means a $35 4%er is $17.50, $25 4%er is $12.50, or a 39-day all access, every play all day. No, it's not $39, Rob Veno. It's $19.50. What do you have for half price Thursday at WagerTalk.com?
We do have a best bet in the USFL up, Steve, ready to go. We're going to have NBA and 1 Major League Baseball play as well. So there'll be 3 plays up there for Throwback Thursday. And I love having you as my financial advisor, Steve. Keep me on the straight and narrow here. We know what everything costs. We know what we're paying. Works out really, really well.
It's very appropriate that we talked USFL on Throwback Thursday. I didn't think about that till now, but Throwback Thursday, half price, everything, including Rob Veno at WagerTalk.com. All right, Teddy, we talked a little USFL. We talked a little NBA. That's 2 sports down. Tokyo Brandon's going to talk MLB in a moment. Kyle Anthony's going to talk UFC. But let's talk some college baseball. Did you learn anything in college baseball yesterday on Wednesday?
No, but we learned something about the modern betting marketplace. This is a fascinating story where the Alabama LSU college baseball game raised red flags at several states, halted betting on the game. And I'm going to give you some facts, then I'm going to give you my opinion about what happened. However, we just saw this morning that Alabama's manager got fired. So there may be more to this story still to come. That being said, we saw Ohio halt action on Alabama games Monday after they got an alert from U.S. Integrity about quote-unquote suspicious betting on the Alabama LSU game. In the game, LSU was a minus 250 favorite in that range. They actually took an 8-1 lead and won 8-6. And the money wasn't an issue in terms of which side it was coming for. It was coming for the Alabama side. It was coming for the favorite side in this contest. Now, the board in Louisiana was monitoring the activity because of the suspicious activity. Quote, this is Ronnie Johns from the Louisiana Gaming Commission. Quote, there are a couple of bets made in Cincinnati, Ohio. ESPN reported that the bets were made at Great American Ballpark in Cincy. One was a parlay, which involved the LSU-Alabama game, and there was another straight-up money line bet. I was told it was a large bet that involved LSU-Alabama. So, Ohio suspends betting on it. New Jersey follows. And all of a sudden, now it's a story, and now it's an issue. So what actually happened? And this is not fact. This is my opinion about what I've been reading about what actually happened. Some guy went to the Great American Ballpark and made 2 big bets on a sport that doesn't take big bets, that doesn't take a whole lot of action. U.S. Integrity, I know Matthew Holt. Matthew Holt's a great guy, the guy that started U.S. Integrity. And they monitor, it's a really good business idea. They monitor for suspicious betting activity. You have a sport like college baseball that doesn't take any action. And all of a sudden, someone's pounding in limit bets and a limit parlay. Hey, what's going on here? And U.S. Integrity raises a concern. Say, pay attention. Not stop wagering, not cancel all college basketball or baseball wagering, but hey, pay attention. There might be something going on here. There were no other suspicious bets. There was nothing else flagged. But nonetheless, those two states saw the alert, said, we better be careful, rather be an abundance of caution was the terminology that was used. And there was no more betting. Now, what we're seeing today with Alabama's head coach being fired, now that tells us maybe there's something. Originally, I thought the story had no legs whatsoever. And it might still have no legs whatsoever. Some guy going in and making a big bet. Who knows if he was drunk? Who knows if he knew? If he was a guy who just bets big, or is he an alumni, or whatever the heck he is. Not an issue necessarily, but all of a sudden the coach gets fired. We'll pay attention to this story. Interesting and fascinating story now being reported on by the mainstream media, because all they want is scandal when it comes to sports betting. I'm not convinced this falls into the scandal category. Steve?
Yeah, and by the way, I might be talking about this show in a couple hours because every Thursday afternoon I do an ESPN radio hit with the Alabama-Tennessee Valley with Tom Abraham, and we talk Alabama sports. So stay tuned. I'll see if I'm still on today. If they have to bump me, I fully understand because it's probably a pretty busy day. But check out my Twitter feed at Steve Merrill, 2Rs, 1L for info on that show and maybe some clips as well later. So, yeah, good timing for me as I'll be talking Alabama sports today. And, yeah, it's pretty ironic that the baseball coach gets fired less than 24 hours later. If this has nothing to do with it, it's the dumbest move in the history of college sports because it's going to make everyone think it does have something to do with it.
The abundance of caution. That's the thing that's going on. The abundance was even the word that they used. Everybody's really scared of anything even smelling the slightest bit funny. Again, I don't know if Alabama's big. He might have just ran his mouth out, we're going to beat those guys. And his buddy was like, okay, I'll go bet a big. Who knows at this stage? But abundance of caution tends to mean, let's protect the children. It's not based on a whole lot necessarily.
Well, it goes back to a bigger picture thing. Like here in the state of Virginia, we can't bet on the Virginia schools. They can bet on everyone but Virginia Tech, UVA, Richmond, for example. And a lot of other states, Jersey was the first to do that. Didn't really hurt Jersey because they hardly have any college athletics that are, meaningful. But Teddy, I've always thought that's so backwards because once again, all you're doing is pushing it underground. Once again, that's the one good thing about regulation is that it is transparent. So if you really want to protect sports, this is why you want betting on college sports. And this is another example of where maybe something's coming to light because of it.
Yeah, although Nevada was the state that started that. You couldn't bet on the Nevada games. And that changed.
But they changed it. Right.
They changed it when the Kyle bill was going through in 2001. And all of a sudden, all sports betting and for any collegiate sport was in jeopardy. All legalized sports betting. Back, I believe it was 2001, 2002 era. And the Gaming Commission in Nevada was very concerned that they were going to read that the fact that they wouldn't take bets on UNLV and Reno as meaning we didn't trust the integrity of college sports. So they voided that previous restriction, but other states still have picked up on it. They say, oh, no, the kids can't bet on the kids in our state. They don't know. The legislators, they don't understand that having it legalized and regulated is a good thing, not a bad thing. They don't know the difference.
Right, and things have obviously been good for Nevada since they switched it. So that was a perfect example of why it doesn't work. The one difference, real quick, we'll move on to Tokyo, is that nowadays I will say, and I'm not a proponent of banning college betting, but it is a lot easier for a college athlete to fund an account now and hit his phone and make a bet right before a game, whereas back in the day they had to go to the counter, go to a casino with cash. So I guess I can kind of see that, but I still am not in favor of it, and I don't think Teddy is either. But once again, something we'll keep an eye on here. Alabama LSU story becoming more interesting than it was maybe last night. Speaking of baseball, let's talk some baseball. Tokyo Brandon is an Asian baseball expert, both Korean baseball and Japanese baseball, but he also knows MLB. and he's a former MLB scout. And real quick, Tokyo, before we get to the MLB games, have you ever messed much
Yep.
with college baseball betting? That's something I haven't asked you before. You do very well at the other
Never.
ones.
Never touched
What keeps you
college
off of it?
baseball.
Just the lack of information, the fact you don't know which pitchers are going. That's what keeps me off it personally.
Lack of information, because as cappers, we're trying to predict the future. And, the more variables that we have solid information on, the easier it is to predict the future. In college baseball, just wacky. I have no information and I have no way of getting that information. So I stay away from it.
Good stuff. And let's turn our attention to MLB. You're a former MLB scout. So I know you specialize in Asian baseball. It's in your name, but you do pretty well in the MLB also. Give me something in this Royals-Orioles game on Thursday.
Yeah, so I've found recently, not recently, but throughout my career that especially when I was a major league scout, we had a saying that bad is more than good. And what that means is, a bad pitcher is generally going to be really bad, and a good pitcher is gonna falter sometimes. So good is not as consistent as bad. A good pitcher, even Gaussman, a guy like that can have a bad clunker and nobody's really surprised. But if a guy like Jordan Lyles comes out and pitches like a Cy Young winner, it's very surprising because it rarely happens. So bad is more consistent than good. And what we have today is Jordan Lyles, and he's just consistently bad. How bad is he? In his starts this season, in his last few starts, he's given up 7, 4, 3, 4, and 5 earned runs. He's just very bad. It used to be in his career that he was only bad on the road, but now he's bad everywhere. So home road doesn't really mean much. And Grayson Rodriguez goes for the Orioles. He had a bit of a rough start, but in his last 2 outings, he's gone 5 innings each, and he's given up no earned runs in each of those starts. So I think he's getting on track now. His first couple starts, he gave up 4, 5, and 2 earned runs. But his last few, albeit they were against Detroit, but I do believe he's getting back on track. And the Orioles, surprisingly, are a pretty good team. I mean, they missed the playoffs by 1 game last season. I'm looking at the peripherals right now, and the Orioles are slumping a little bit, but I think it's enough to get it done today. And the Royals are 2-13 at home. The line in this is minus 190, which is pretty steep. So being that they're on the road, the golden rule in baseball is don't bet the run line on a home team. The Orioles are on the road. They'll get full 9 innings of at-bats. I'm pretty comfortable laying the 1.5 here with the Orioles.
So Casey is 2-13 at home. At the end of the year, what are they going to be at home?
Yeah, I think it's safe to project this 2-13 throughout the whole season. So I think you're putting me on.
The worst team in baseball last year was, I think, 26 and the worst team last year in baseball, I think, was 26-55 at home. Is that what we're looking at for KC?
I think even worse. They're actually 6-10 on the road, so they're better on the road than they are at home. Why? I don't know. Jordan Lyles too. He used to be good at home, and he's bad everywhere now. But that was when he was with the Rangers. So, I don't know. 2-13 might be a little bit steep to project. It might be like a 25-50 record at the end of the season when all said and done. They could win a few more home games, but I don't think it's going to be against a team like the Orioles. The Orioles, their bullpen's slumping a little bit, but their overall collective WOBA for their whole lineup is 335, so they're crushing it pretty good at the plate. Their bullpen's slumping a little bit in the last 10 days, but still, they're just better than the Royals. I do think both starters will get knocked out around the 5th inning, so this could be a bullpen game in the last 4. I still think the Orioles have enough to take care of the last 4 innings here.
It's Tokyo Brandon, and by the way, the Royals have only played 3 games all year against a losing team, and they've gone 2-1. This team is 6-22 in all other games against winning teams. So I'm not saying they're good, but just like Oakland, they've played almost every game against a quality opponent so far this year. So it's something to keep an eye on. The Orioles, though, obviously are another quality opponent. I love the fact bad is more consistent than good, Brandon. I'm going to steal that. I'll give you credit, but I thoroughly agree with that in sports. It's something I've used over the years as well. All right, let's talk player prop here. We haven't talked any player props today. What's something you're looking at from a player prop perspective tonight?
So the Rockies are playing the Royals, or playing the Brewers today in Coors, and if yesterday's game is any indication, should be a slugfest here. I do like to look at how batters have performed against starting pitchers, and there are a lot of Rockies to like here against Wade Miley. Wade Miley's having a terrible season. He's generally not a good pitcher. He hasn't been a good pitcher in his whole career, but especially at Coors and especially against Rockies batters. The Rockies are surprisingly a pretty good team this year. I picked them at the beginning of the season. I picked their wins total under, which looks like was a bad bet on my part. I thought Charlie Blackmon and Chris Bryant were the only two major league level hitters, but CJ Cron is hitting really well this year. And, quite a few batters are stepping up, particularly against Wade Miles, though. Chris Bryant has a really good history against him. He hits 9 for 20 with 2 home runs in 20 at-bats with an OPS of 1.338. He's just absolutely crushing it. And if you look at his props here, there's a lot to like here. I like Chris Bryant to go over 0.5 runs. He's hitting third, or he has been hitting third in the lineup. I just look at this game. It's going to be a merry-go-round. There's going to be a lot of hits, a lot of runs, and a lot of scoring in this one, especially at Coors. Could be an 8-run game for the Rockies, which means Chris Bryant hitting third has more than a 50% chance of scoring in that if they score 8. So I like Chris Bryant over 0.5 runs scored. Let me just throw this in. For player props, I generally like the hits, RBIs, hits, runs, RBIs prop. Because I don't like the total bases prop because walks don't count for total bases and they don't count for hits either. But I do like the runs, RBIs, hits. But Chris Bryant is 2.5, not 1.5. So it's a little steep for me. So I'm going to go with the runs over 0.5 with Chris Bryant against Wade Miley today at Coors.
So you said Miley's been struggling. Miley's given up 6 earned runs in 5 starts. The Brewers have won 4 of them. And I think every one of them stayed under the total. What makes you think he's struggling?
I think he's struggling against Colorado batters in his career. Wait till he gets to Coors. Wait till he faces Charlie Blackmon and Chris Bryant, and then we'll see him struggle. Granted, so far in the season, he's 3-1 with a 1.00 WHIP. I hear you, but I think Chris Bryant and company will be taking care of that very quickly. He's pitching above his career numbers, and I just don't think that's going to last.
It's Tokyo Brandon, baseball expert, former MLB scout. He knows his MLB, but he also does Korean baseball and Japanese baseball. It's in his name. 86% return in April. You've been fantastic for several years now at WagerTalk.com. What else you got going on the site?
So the Asian numbers are not out yet. I will be putting out Asian plays, and today, as you know, is half off Thursday. My Asian plays, I generally put out $9 each, except my 5%ers. And so those are $4.50. I will be putting those out as soon as the numbers come out. And as far as Major League Baseball, the plays that I just gave out on this show are out, so don't buy those. But when the Asian numbers come out, I will be putting out. There's something to really like in Japanese baseball, which I'll cover on Wager Talk Extra later today. But I'm licking my chops for Japanese baseball numbers to come out because I will be putting out a big play on one of those games. So half off Thursday. Go to my page at WagerTalk.com, Tokyo Brandon, and see when the Asian plays come out. They'll be $4.50 each.
Yeah, great way to diversify your portfolio with some Asian baseball. He's number one all sports, 21, 22, and he's off to a great start in 2023. So check out Tokyo Brandon at wagertalk.com. Once again, it's half price Thursday, 50% off every daily package for every capper, automatic, no promo code needed, wagertalk.com, and also sportsmemo.com as well. All right, Teddy, we've got a lot of sports and we've got more to talk. We've got UFC main event, UFC 288 coming up in a few minutes with Kyle Anthony. Going to take a quick 30-second break. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs again in just a moment. We'll be right back.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to wagertalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
It's BS time. Better strategy time here on Wager Talk today. Like this segment, it's our new segment. Really has been fantastic, in my opinion. We've gotten some great questions from the live viewers in the comment section, the chat section on the live show. And then, of course, more importantly, leave them in the comment section on YouTube after the show if you think of a good question. And we've been trying to get to as many as we can. We've got some archived. Just because you don't hear it the next day doesn't mean we might not eventually get to it. But we got one that's very time pertinent, I think, for tonight, Teddy, because the Laker Warriors game 2 is tonight. Lakers steal game 1, obviously, as the underdog in that series. They're now a slight favorite. And several people have asked this. The initial question came in the live chat, actually, yesterday. I saw it after the show, but it was in the live chat during the show from Matt Delquist. But also Johnny in Detroit had the same question. So we got some other people asking it as well. And here's Matt's question, though. I have a $100 bet on the Lakers at 22-1 to win the championship. Any good way to hedge? Should I buy Denver at 4-1? Now, that's an interesting side note there. You can comment on that, Teddy, but just in general, what would you recommend to Matt and other people that have a Lakers ticket? I believe Las Vegas Chris has a 100-1 ticket, I've heard as well. So there's definitely maybe some opportunities now to hedge with the Lakers up 1-0.
So if you have there's a difference here if you have a big plus price ticket. You have a 100-1, 150-1. They're out there on the Lakers, 50-1 versus, in this case, a 22-1 ticket on LA, because if you're going to start hedging off of this, you're really going to cut into your potential profits. So let me start with this. Should I buy Denver at plus 400? No. Denver is not that's not the thing standing between the Lakers and a championship right now. The first thing standing between the Lakers and the championship right now is the Golden State Warriors. So if you want to hedge with the Lakers up 1-0 in the series right now, you can get Golden State at a plus price. You can hedge off a little bit, 1 unit, and you'll lock in a profit. If the Lakers lose this series, if the Lakers lose, you can make money with Golden State. If they win, you're alive, and you only need to hedge 2 more series. But again, when you start talking about, we only need to hedge 2 more series, now you're cutting into your profits. Personally, I tend to let these bets ride. I tend to let them ride until I don't like it anymore. If I don't like it anymore, that's when I'm going to hedge, not before. If a team faces elimination, that could be a time to hedge. You could say, let's hold off on the Lakers. Let's hold off on this Warriors bet. And let's just let this series play out. And if LA is facing a potential elimination game, that's when we'll hedge. Probably that's the way I would do it. I don't know that I'd take Golden State in the money right here. But there's still 7 other teams remaining. Lakers are only one of those 7. They're not one of the favorites out of those 7. So when you're talking about your hedging bet sizes, initially, you want to keep them relatively small. You risk a unit, hedge a unit. You risk 2 units, hedge 2 units. This way, you'll get something back. You're not in a negative expectation situation, but you're not risking all of your potential profit for something that you're not going to be able to cash for another 6+ weeks. That's my take, Steve. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you, Teddy. And obviously, I draw a lot of correlations between the financial markets and the sports betting markets. And something I've always said when someone asks, when should they sell an investment that's done very well? I've always said, you don't have to sell it all at once, right? You can take a little bit off the table and let the winners run. That's the best thing to do, really, in both sports betting and the investment markets, is let your winners run. But I do think from an emotional side, you do want to at least get your initial investment back and maybe lock up a little bit of a profit. So if the Lakers don't win the championship, which by the way, they likely will not, right now the odds are 4.5, 5-1. So that's about an 80-some% chance they won't win the title. So most likely this bet is still going to lose. So I do think it's important to lock up a little bit of a profit for those couple reasons. But the biggest thing about hedging, why I'm usually against it as well, kind of what you said, is that you're hedging away an edge. I mean, right now the Lakers are 5-1. You've got them at 22-1. That's a huge advantage play right there. So you don't want to hedge much of an advantage play away, even though it's not likely to win. But I would say if you're going to hedge, tonight's the night to do it, because as you said, Teddy, you're getting Golden State at a plus money price in the series. They're a 6-point favorite. They are likely to win this game tonight. So I think this is the ideal time to do it. And by the way, home favorites down to 1 have won every game. They're now 6-0 after the Celtics blowout win in this playoff. So I think this is the perfect time to have this question. It's the perfect time to lock up your initial investment and maybe a little bit of a profit, but then let most of it run. The Lakers keep doing well. You'll have even a better hedge in the next round and maybe in the finals. But Matt, thank you for your question. And once again, viewers out there, keep them coming in. What do you think, Teddy?
I was just saying, so the basically giving you two different strategies for how to do this. You can bet Golden State to win the series tonight, or you can wait until the Lakers face elimination, and that's when you bet Golden State to win the series. The choice is yours. And you probably won't get a plus price if the Lakers are facing elimination. If you're betting Golden State, especially because Game 7 would be in Golden State, although Game 6 would be at home for LA. But it's a scenario where if you want to wait, you can, and you may not have to make the bet at all. That said, you won't get the best of the number if you choose to wait.
Right. I think this is a textbook example of take a little off, right? Lock up your initial investment at plus 140 on the Warriors tonight. And then if you have to hedge again in game 6 or 7 when they might get eliminated, if the Lakers are in that spot, then you hedge maybe the rest to lock up a little bit of a profit. Then you're not kicking yourself or second guessing, because a lot of this is just an emotional hedge as well, in my opinion, long term.
Sure.
All right. Thanks for the question.
They still have to win. They still have to win 3 more series. So every time you're hedging,
Correct.
If you're going to start the process, you're going to continue to hedge throughout, which tells us that, at 20-1, winning 3 more series, if you're hedging the whole way, you're going to piss away a lot of your profit.
Yeah, and Teddy, that's something I meant to mention. You also, what was your game plan when you initially made the 22-1 bet? Did you really think the Lakers were going to win this, or did you think you're going to probably be able to hedge? My guess is you probably were planning on hedging when you made the initial bet at some point as well. So that's also important, to have a game plan when you make these future plays, so that once again, you're not second guessing. I'm big on as you can see, the emotional mindset of this stuff, because it's a daily grind and you don't want to go on tilt as you might in poker after a bad beat or something. So have a game plan. Take a little off the table now. Take a little bit more off if they face elimination. That would be my recommendation, same as I would if you're selling a stock or any other financial advice. All right, that's a great question, very timely question. That is once again Game 2 tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. Matt, keep in touch with us. Let us know what you decide to do, and also how it works out for you in the live chat comments on the side of the live show. Once again, the post-show comments on YouTube. And also, if you're listening to the podcast, we did get some podcast questions. We got this archived as well for future shows. You can always email support@wagertalk.com if you're listening to the audio version. All right, let's talk some UFC main events. 288. We got the main event, also a side fight here, but Kyle Anthony is our MMA expert at wagertalk.com. And we've got a big one in Newark, New Jersey on Saturday night, Kyle. UFC 288. Let's get right into it. Let's not even waste any time. Let's go straight to the main event. What are you looking at in this one?
Here you got Aljamain Sterling minus 105. We've got Henry Cejudo minus 115 on the comeback here. When you're looking at it, the current champion, the bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling, he is well-rounded. He has a great skill set, good rangy striking, solid grappling. But the one big thing here on the other side for Cejudo is going to be his big-time wrestling, top-notch wrestling. He was a 2-division champion. Now, the big talking point, I think, all week will be the fact that he was out for 3 years. And that to me obviously is a big part, being not doing anything for 3 years, any sport, or really fine tuning it. Your timing definitely can be off, but he's been in the gym. It's not like he's not doing anything and sitting on the couch. I think the biggest part of this was his path to winning the championship years ago. And if you look at it, some of them were a little bit suspect. And you look at it, it's TJ Dillashaw. He fought him. That was when TJ Dillashaw moved down to flyweight. He moved down. He looked horrible, drained, couldn't take a punch, ended up getting knocked out. That'll probably be the first and last time that TJ Dillashaw ever goes down to the flyweight division. And then you even look at it, the next one was Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes, big-time striker. People really thought he was going to be kind of moving up the ranks. He's 1-7 out of his last 8 MMA appearances, and he won the first round over Henry Cejudo when they fought. And then most recently, which was years ago, was against Dominic Cruz. Dominic Cruz was off for 4 years, came back on somewhat short notice, and Henry Cejudo fought him and won, and then Cejudo retired. Now he's back. Those are some little bit dicey kind of wins. I know people talk about Aljo's wins. Those are a little bit dicey wins as well, too. But when you're looking at it, I think the big part here is going to be the fact that Cejudo's undersized. He is undersized for the bantamweight division. He's 5'4". He's not a big guy. You've got Aljamain Sterling, who's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage, and I think that's going to help him extremely, working at range, working at space, landing the better shots. I also think the volume will be there for Aljamain. He'll be able to land the shots, work at distance, and that together really, I think, makes it hard for Henry Cejudo to cut distance. He's not a guy that's going to really rally with volume. He's going to shoot, but I also think, and again, allow me to say the takedowns, the wrestling will be there for Cejudo, but Aljamain is absolutely fantastic in grappling. I think he's a better grappler. He's good off of his back. He can scramble. He can get back to his feet. He can submission hunt when he wants. And the biggest stat that you can probably get in this fight is between flyweight and welterweight fighters who are 35 years old and older are 2-22 in title fights in the history of the UFC, while Cejudo right now, just on the wrong side of 35 at 36 years old. So I do like Aljamain here at a pick'em price. I think he gets the job done, and it will be the champion again.
So the total over-under rounds is 4.5 with the juice to the over. I'm seeing minus 150, minus 160. So it sounds like the betting markets expect this to go to the cards. Are you confident that you're going to win this decision? And would you play over in this match as well?
I mean, there's so many questions with that 3-year layoff that I'm more comfortable taking the side who I feel is way better fighter, I'm more focused on that than trying to really fine tune and get a little bit better. I like the even money here. I'm happy with that.
Kyle Anthony, that 2-22 angle, man, digging into your UFC database. I love it. That's an incredible stat, man. I'm going to archive that one and keep an eye on it. Makes a lot of sense. Like I said, they make sense. I'm always for them. 2-22, pretty incredible, over 35 in title fights. All right, let's look at something on the undercard here as well. A lot of value. In fact, there's probably more value, you would agree, with these lesser fights sometimes. And by the way, Half Price Thursday is a great time to go to Kyle Anthony's page at WagerTalk.com. You're getting a 5% best bet, 5 plays in all for UFC 288 for half price today on Thursday. So don't wait till Saturday. Get it for half price right now at WagerTalk.com. And Kyle, give us one more on the way out here, something on the undercard maybe.
Yeah, so we got Charles Jourdain, who's around minus 190 on the comeback here. Kron Gracie plus 155. And you're looking at here, I mean, Kron Gracie, you hear that last name Gracie, you already know he's going to be elite level when it comes to grappling and all of that. He is with that family of the Gracie family. And you look at on the other side, you've got Charles Jourdain. He is well-rounded. He's got a good skill set. He's versatile striking. There are the great things that he does. But the clean thing here for Kron Gracie is going to be utilizing the grappling. They are worlds apart when it comes to that. Now, Kron also has been out for some years, but the difference is that he has absolutely been working on his grappling and all of that because that's what he does. It's not like he is, again, sitting on the couch. I don't expect him to come in here and all of a sudden kickbox. I think he's going to look for these takedowns and he's going to be pushing for it. And I think also his last fight against Cub Swanson is also kind of a recency bias, although a couple of years ago, but a little bit of a recency bias due to the fact that Cub Swanson, crafty veteran, kept on the outside, fought smart, kept distance, and that's how Kron ended up losing. Took some years off. I think things are a little bit different here because, yes, Jourdain does have better striking than Kron Gracie, absolutely, but the big issue on Jourdain is that he is wild. He is not a guy that's going to be, very, very, when it comes to just like being smart, in the pocket. He's brawling. He's reckless. A lot of those things, I think, is where Kron can take advantage of. He can look for the level changes. He can look for some of these takedowns. And the fact that he is going to only really need probably one takedown at any point in this fight to get the finish. I don't think that Jourdain has any ability off of his back. I think Kron is so elite when he gets it there. And the fact that these big explosive movements from Jourdain are going to force opportunities, whether he catches a leg kick, whether he catches a body kick, whether he catches something and trips. Jourdain is a guy that is definitely going to be there to be hit. And he's not going to have to chase him. Kron is a guy that he was chasing Cub Swanson around. He's not going to have to do that against Jourdain. Jourdain will push forward, which makes me think more opportunities and a landscape for level changes. So in this spot here, I do like Kron Gracie plus 154. I think the spot's great. He can either get that finish, get that control time, or ride out some rounds. But I just think there's a mass gap in that grappling, and I think he gets it home at plus 154.
Kron Gracie, a live underdog on Saturday night in Newark, New Jersey. Kyle Anthony, you talked a little bit about, what do you have, a 5-play pack up? What else is going on right now over at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so I got 5 plays up right now. One of them is going to be a 5% play. Really like the spot here. A lot of really good money spots that, listen, we're talking a lot of different sports here. I know we got NHL and NBA and all these things. Those are great spots to make some money. Absolutely some really good spots here this weekend that I'm looking forward to cashing.
Once again, great way to diversify your portfolio with the UFC expert, Kyle Anthony, and do it on half price Thursday for a big discount right now in his full package for this Saturday's fight in Newark, New Jersey. Teddy, I enjoyed doing the show with you. Prez is scheduled to be back tomorrow and Friday. Don't you worry. I will be on NBA tip-off tomorrow on Friday. I know. It's okay. It's going to be all right. I'm here for you still, virtually. And also, don't forget, Last Call is on tonight at 6 o'clock Eastern. We do have a bonus show tonight after MLB first pitch, 2 o'clock, NBA 4 o'clock Eastern, Last Call 6 o'clock Eastern. And then I'll be on the Last Call show at Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So a lot more content to come on Wager Talk TV. Hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts when shows and videos go live. I might even have an NBA playoff video for this weekend, so hit that bell for an instant alert. Half price Thursday. Once again, some best bets up there. Teddy's got a daytime baseball best bet for half price Thursday, so go check that out right now. I've got a strong NBA best bet for tonight as well, and also get the rest of the NBA for free when you buy baseball. Full details on my page right now, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Teddy covers. Take us home.
Sure. Prez called me last night. He's like, yeah, come down and see me. I'm like, yeah, I'll see you on air on Friday, dude. He was in Vegas all week. I didn't see him once. I'm like, I see you plenty. That being said, he will be back tomorrow, just like we will be, right here on Wager Talk Today. Each and every weekday, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, noon for you, back east. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games, and best of luck with every wager that you make. Well, as long as it's not against me. Cheers.